It's your boy Concert Viz 34. I'm gonna do my first review ever, and it's gonna be based on the man on my shirt. If you can see him, that is John Mayer, and the show he just did this past Sunday in Boston on April 9th, 2017. So this show was my third show ever seeing John Mayer. Caught him two times in Hartford at the infamous Meadows Music Theater, which gets renamed every couple years, but is now known as the Xfinity Center. So I saw him in 2010 on the Heartbreak Warfare Summer Tour. 2013 was the Born and Raised Tour, but there was Paradise Valley material that was starting to be revealed that year. And this is my third show, first indoor show for John Mayer, which made for a different crowd. You know, those summer shows, you get a lot of people that tailgate and that are just there to be on the lawn, to get a couple drinks in them, smoke something, you know. And this was a little different, which was good. It was interesting just to see that, you know, you don't have that summertime fun, you know, big crowd type feel. It was more of an intimate concert because it's confined into a small, 17 to 18,000 seat arena. But I'll start off with the opener. Their name was The Record Company, and I have to give them credit. They really did a good job. They're a blues rock, a little bit of a Black Keys type feel, and I was not sure what to expect. I've seen John Mayer play with Train and Philip Phillips, both great acts, but they're more of a pop feel. So it was cool to see just a trio, guitarist, lead singer, bassist, and a drummer really play some classic rock and some blues rock. And again, The Record Company right now is April 11th, and I believe they are following John to Chirac for the show today at the United Center, as they had a live stream today in Chicago. And I'm sure they're on the stage right now, either getting off. It's 8:35 Eastern or 7:35 Central. Actually, you know what? They are probably just getting on stage because it's Central Time Zone. But they played through. Started just after 7:30. Got off a little after 8, I believe. And it was a great opener. A very raw band. John met them through his Dead and Company shows at Fenway. They were playing earlier in the day at Boston Common, and the band talked about going backstage and meeting John Mayer and the rest of Dead and Company. And he asked them to join his tour after meeting them last year in Boston for this specific The Search for Everything tour that he's doing. Now, as far as John Mayer, this was probably, in my opinion, the best show I've seen. Didn't have much money. I was a broke high school and college kid for the Continuum era and even before that. So again, my first show was 2010. The best thing about this show was you got a lot of the old stuff back. And Born and Raised and Paradise Valley were both stripped down to only a couple songs. If you combine both albums, there's only a couple songs from both of those. So it was nice to be able to get the feel of a lot of the classics and even some of the deep tracks that became virally popular because even though they weren't a hit single, it's just great songs off that Continuum era. So we start off with the beginning of the show. John comes out and he starts off with the full band. Does a couple songs. Queen of California was the opener. And then he reveals Moving On and Getting Over, the first, for this show specifically, of the new material. Pretty cool song. It grooves really well. And the one thing about this show compared to the other ones is I was looking forward the most to hearing some of the new material. So it was nice, even though it's new music, it was very great live. Then he goes to I Don't Trust Myself. This is the first Continuum song. This is when the crowd really gets into it because it's about to be lit. You know, you're getting that classic, John Mayer blues feel. You know, a great song. Then Love on the Weekend, I Could Do Without. It is what it is, but he played that. Then to go to Who Says, into the first part of the full band, or kind of the act one. This was kind of made out to be a movie. There's different transitions. So they transitioned to just John after that with the acoustic set. 3 songs he's been doing per show. And 3 songs he did is Emoji of a Wave, Neon, and Free Falling. I love Emoji of a Wave. It's a very simple and bare acoustic song, and I was so excited to get it for the first song of the acoustic set there. Next up was Neon. What he did was he switched guitars, so I was like, it's either going to be Neon or In Your Atmosphere. Starts tapping around, teasing and kind of prolonging a little bit of an intro of just noodling on the guitar. And then you start to hear that it's in the key that Neon is, and I was like, all right, Neon's coming. And Neon was the part of the acoustic set where he really displayed his acoustic talents, adding the percussive taps and various things, what have you, that John's known for. Definitely the best technically sound acoustic song. Then you go to Free Falling, Tom Petty cover. No matter when he plays it, it's gonna be nuts, and people really got into that. After that, acoustic little stage rolls away. He gets to the trio version of this. This was the coolest part to me because I've always wanted to see the trio live. By the time I started going to shows, you had some issues with John obviously saying some stuff to Playboy, and Steve Jordan's like, bro, I'm out, man. I can't be with you right now. So he rolled out. Pino wasn't touring with them. So to see the trio perform, and Pino, Steve Jordan, John Mayer, and just them 3. No side singers, no extra guitars. It was really awesome. So they started off with Vultures, did Johnny Be Good, and then Bull Does Love. Amazing. It was an amazing performance. And just to keep in mind, for the full band, Steve Jordan plays the entire time, Pino plays the entire time in the full band. But this trio part, again, typically you're going to get 3 songs depending on what show you go to. It was just cool to have that nice little trio, and back to what John Mayer's, in my opinion, his best work was with the trio. The trio is what won me over as a fan, a John Mayer fan. I wasn't a fan of the pop albums, the first 2, but as soon as that came out, the John Mayer Trio Try record, that's when I started getting hooked on him. Went back to the old stuff and ended up saying, hey, it's not that bad. I like 3x5, I like Will, it's cool. It's not that bad. But anyway, that's the trio part of that. Goes to the full band again, kind of a reprise, and starts off with Changing, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, and Still Feel Like Your Man, and then Belief. So those were a couple songs where he uses a new guitar. This was a premiere of a Paul Reed Smith guitar model that we're assuming John Mayer is going to be using continuing out through this tour. He signed a little deal with Paul Reed Smith, or PRS Guitars. So it was interesting because he starts off with Changing. He brings out this new guitar. You're like, okay, this is for the new material, the new album. And then he goes straight to Slow Dancing with the same guitar. Now this is a pretty big moment for a big fan like me who follows John and everything he's doing, what instruments he's using, what amps he's using, because he's playing a Continuum song, Slow Dancing, and he's using his new PRS guitar. And actually the guitar ironically looks similar, the body of it and the shape of it looks just like a Strat. So it's very interesting. It turned heads because, and there were actually reports on it after the show, that he's playing with this new guitar. So then he goes to Still Feel Like Your Man, again still using the PRS guitar, and usually he was using a pink guitar that he had prior to this reveal of this new model guitar. And then again, Belief, still on the PRS. Everything still sounds John Mayer like. Mentally, seeing him without a Strat for Slow Dancing and Belief, it just you mentally think it's not the same, but it still sounds great. He did his thing. A couple new variations and twists for those solos. I've seen those Continuum songs a couple times through my 2 shows, even though I've only been to 2 shows, and I think both of them had Belief and Slow Dancing. So a couple different riffs and different feels to it compared to the last 2 tours. Now we get to the encore. This is a very controversial part for set list guys like me, because on the set list on his Facebook page, after the show I get home at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and you see that the set list says the first encore song is Stop This Train. Stop This Train was not played. Dear Marie was played, Paradise Valley. And had I known that was on the set list, at the concert, I'd be like, "What are you doing? No, no!" And hey, I'll take whatever they play. They play. It's their, it's John's show. But this was kind of a first moment, at least from what I can remember, tracking set lists for John Mayer. It may have happened, but this is why I don't really track set lists from John Mayer like I do with other bands I follow, like Dead and Company, Humphreys McGee, Dave Matthews Band, that switch it up every night. But usually in these types of jam bands or other bands that mix it up, they'll cross off a song, and even though the set list is printed out, and then play something else instead due to time constraints, or just they're feeling something different in the crowd. So this was kind of a big moment because everyone was commenting on Facebook and saying, "Hey, what happened to Stop This Train? We would have loved it." And me too. But hey, he played Dear Marie. He got a Paradise Valley track in there. Went right to Gravity, and then steps off stage. Piano comes out. This is typically, spoiler alert, but every show has been ending with "You're Gonna Live Forever in Me." He plays piano. I believe his dad played piano. I was watching the Charlie Rose interview, but he finishes off on piano, and that's the show. But there is a break between the second encore song and "You're Gonna Live Forever in Me." Overall, I thought this was the best show of all three I've been to, just because you get the best of the old stuff. And since I've been going since 2010, or at least been able to afford to go, you felt like some of the Born and Raised in Paradise Valley music was just, for me, I didn't care about it as much at the time. Some of the stuff I've been able to appreciate, like Walk Grace, Waiting on the Day, some of these songs that I didn't really like at first, but now I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. But I like how he strips away his last 2 albums to, hey, we're only gonna pick a couple. Let's do Continuum hard. As far as things I would have liked to seen, he did play 3x5 previously on the tour. I would have loved to hear that. Potentially Helpless, if he could have swapped out one of the new songs and did Helpless, which is from wave 2 of his 2 waves of releases from the new album, which will be out this Friday in its full form, a couple extra songs. I would have loved to hear Helpless. To me, that's the best new track. It's got the nice solo that he does, and it has that upbeat concert feel. So again, 3x5, I would have loved to hear Helpless. Maybe a Wheel. He did play Wheel. But I know realistically it's hard to get all that from a John Mayer solo show. I know Dead and Company, they're whipping out entire deep cuts, and they're playing 4 shows in a weekend, and every show is different as far as what John was doing last summer. I did go to see, if you check out my videos, did go to Citi Field in Hartford, Connecticut, Citi Field Night 2 in Hartford, the single standalone show during the week. And I don't expect that from his solo stuff. That's not his fan base to cut through 3 shows, 3 different sets. But overall, I thought it was a great step in the right direction. He even said, and I mentioned, that this was one of the best tours, that he feels like this tour feels a lot better than he has in a while. So he's kind of getting his swag back, being lost in Montana, trying to figure out what he was going to do, what he was going to be. Now, what I would say for people who are thinking of going to multiple shows, to me, he always has a little bit of variety. This tour, if you catch a couple shows in a row, you're gonna get more variety than the last tour, which was the Born and Raised tour, where he had Paradise Valley stuff. You're gonna get a lot more variety. As far as in the acoustic set, every night is different in the acoustic. The trio set is different every night. Now, there may be some repeats every couple shows, but if you're chasing him on a couple stops, or even if you got the money to go to Europe and you're gonna follow him to Europe, you're gonna get unique shows. And that's what's great is some of these artists like John Mayer could go either way. They could just play the same set most times, or they have the ability and they have the intellect to make a good set every night. So I think that's one thing to look forward to with this tour. I will be trying to go to Hartford and or Jones Beach in the summertime when he picks it back up, and I'm definitely going to try to catch him with Dead and Company again. Depending on what happens, maybe the Citi Field. Fenway was very hard last year, but if you do want to, I do suggest if you're a John Mayer fan to check him out with Dead and Company, just to listen to something different and get a different side of John, or even if you have a family member who's into more of the rock, classic rock, or even a father or someone who's older than you. If you're young, I'm in my 20s. That listen to a lot of older rock, bring them to a Dead and Company show and bond with them. And John is making fans. I had my Dead and Company Citi Field shirt on at the show, and I saw a couple of Deadhead t-shirts or varieties of different t-shirts. So he's winning over some Deadheads who are like, he's not Jerry, I'm not going to these shows, or I'm going to the shows reluctantly. He is getting more respect from his Dead and Company touring, from very kind of prog rock 80s Genesis fans with their arms crossed. They're looking at him like, hey man, this dude is really knows how to play guitar, and it's not just Your Body Is a Wonderland or Why Georgia. It is he is a musician who's carrying on legacies. And one of the things as well, just to end this, is he did play Johnny B. Good during the trio set, and I think this lines up with the funeral services for Chuck Berry being this past weekend. And that's the thing that I like about John the most is, and it shows in his tours, he has a Hendrix cover and a Chuck Berry coverage, is he has the ability to play the pop songs and play the pop hits, but he knows his history. He knows he played growing up. He listened and played blues. He's played with B.B. King and a couple other blues legends, and he knows that he has a responsibility to, while he can make this, he can get top 40 fans to listen to the radio, he still needs to educate and carry on the legacy. He is not those artists, and he knows that, but he's going to carry on the legacy. But thanks for checking this out. I got tons of videos on this page, Concert Vids 34. Everything from J. Cole, Stevie Wonder, as you know, John Mayer from this past concert. I have Billy Joel. So I go to a bunch of different things. You look around, that's an Allman Brothers poster. So shout out to the Allman Brothers band. So I have a very eclectic music taste. I go to a lot of different musical concerts and things like that. So check out my pages. There's something for everyone almost. But thank you for checking out this video, and good luck to all you guys trying to get cheap tickets. I hope the tickets drop for you. You get a nice deal on the secondary, or hopefully some tickets pop up for you. Maybe you win tickets to this Search for Everything tour. But I highly suggest going to see John this summer. He's back, and he's got one of his best tours of his lifetime as far as the previous stuff. This is one of the best ones you're going to see from him so far. All right, take care.